Hello and welcome to our channel. I am Dani Myers, and today we are going to talk about leadership. We are going to dive into leadership styles as well as types, and if we do our job right today, I hope to provide some clarity and possibly some motivation for those that are listening. My personal journey through and in around leadership has not always been easy or really confirming for me. It's not been the most confirming experience. A few people in my life have poured into me and held me accountable for my faults and been really honest with me in that way and motivated me to improve, and I'm forever, eternally grateful for those people. However, a lot of my knowledge has come from my mistakes, as well as just like a genuine curiosity to improve, to become a better leader. I'm kind of that E-Myth story of I was really good at marketing and then started a company, right? And so this leadership aspect, I had leadership skills, but it's just a whole nother level. As your company grows, so do your skills. So do your skills need to be growing. Like I said, I'm forever grateful for the people that poured into me. I do try to consistently pour back into the next generation as well as my own generation, and just encouragement, because those conversations are so valuable. However, my path, like I said, I think is I'm the norm.
Oh, yeah, normal.
Yes, but I am by no means, an expert in leadership, and that is why I invited Dr. Megan Weinkauf to come visit with us today. Dr. Weinkauf is an inspirational professional, researcher, professor, mom, wife, and lifelong student. She holds not only her MBA, but her PhD in organizational leadership. Her concentration is in human resources development with a special interest in transformational leadership, which I am really interested in, so that's a good thing, so we're here. We're going to learn all about it. I hope that you guys are just as excited to learn from Dr. Weinkauf as I am, because there's so much around leadership that is very vague to the non-researcher. So I want to thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. So can you share with us a little bit what led you to your field of study?
Well, I think a lot of mistakes too.
This is the mistake-friendly zone.
Yeah. I started having this fascination with leadership whenever I was out, in the work world. After you get out of college, you go through this, it's idealistic of what you're learning in college, and then although I did work full-time during college, in accounting, so I've worked for a long, long time in various roles, but it was different. And whenever you get out, you have this idea of what it's going to be like, and then you start having these experiences, and our experiences mold and shape us as well, and we learn from those. And what I learned from leadership is I had sat under really awesome, healthy leaders that wanted me to grow beyond them, and I'd also been with leaders that were not as healthy. And, that's whenever words like toxic workplaces come up, or there's holding people back, sometimes like out of fear or not wanting them to grow. So a lot of times like based on their own, personal issues going on, or whatever the case is, or it could be organizational culture. There's all kinds of factors that go into that. And what I had started realizing and picking up on themes, and I guess that's what we do as researchers, especially when you're studying humans, is I noticed, okay, one person really can impact positively or negatively an organization or a department or a community. And then even studying it back through history of like why certain individuals really were a light in this world and created movements that changed behaviors and mindsets and brought unity and And that's really why I went for a PhD in organizational leadership. Honestly, I could care less about the title. It was more about understanding that if we really want to change systems at the root level, you have to go to the research, because you will see mainstream leadership books. What do they pull from? Researchers, PhDs. Transformational leadership was birthed, out of a researcher, and that's how it really took off. And it actually came originally from another researcher, and then a mainstream author, and then more research. So that's why. And I also saw a need for this new maybe type of leadership to not only focus on leadership traits, like how you behave, but what you believe and how those two things line up. Yeah.
Yes.
Do your values align with your actions? And if there's a gap, then we can work to mitigate that.
Absolutely, and sometimes it's just that you're in the wrong seat sometimes.
Sure. Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes it's, people are chosen because they're really skilled at what they do, and then automatically promoted to a leader. I've worked with quite a few leaders that were first-time managers, VPs, directors, and and then C-suite, and all those different levels have another type of growth that needs to occur. And and they know technical skills, but the people skills and what they're going to need to really thrive and help their people thrive is a little different.
It's a completely different skill. So what does the research show? As far as you speak on individuals who make impact and can change thought patterns.
Sure.
Is there a pattern there?
Oh yes. With transformational leaders, and whenever we think about transformational leadership, like task-based leadership has been around for a long, long time. Since the early 1900s, Frederick Winslow Taylor, anyone who has taken a management class has heard about him. And the science of management, there's one way to do things, and then you figure out the best way, and everyone's like
efficiency,
effectiveness. And transformational leadership is more of realizing like who the individuals are that you're working with. And there's 4 pillars of transformational leadership. It's individualized consideration, idealized influence, inspirational motivation, and intellectual stimulation. And those are basically like the whole person, right? And whenever you're walking with people and it's the transformational aspects, then you're there for them. You understand their specific needs. You're growing them as a person, both personally and professionally. And it's much more than get a task done to get paid. Like you care about them. And whenever you care about people in that way and care about their transformation, then it increases job performance and productivity and motivation, and it decreases turnover, and it increases, team learning and a positive work environment. There's so many positives from it.
I 100% agree with that. It's amazing. I will tell you, as a small business owner, that those intangibles are what I work for every day. They're also the intangibles that are incredibly hard to implement as an individual. So speaking towards small businesses, if we can, small and medium-sized leaders, okay? Because aside from the conversation that everyone should be a leader as they show up in a day, right? Everyone has the ability to lead, whether they're in management or not. However, speaking to those people who are the pilot for their own little plane.
Yes, that's a good analogy.
Yes, they're keeping it in the air as well as making sure everybody on the plane is comfortable. The practical pieces that go into that to manage and know, because you can know your staff. and finding the ways to, you said motivate and provide intellectual stimulant. I think that is yes, that is a very challenging, not outside of task. I mean, so practically within our company, the intellectual stimulation is there just naturally because of the type of work we do. It's very creative. Sure. It's very interacting with each other. However, there's another level there that is sometimes challenging to reach because you are trying to get, I mean, they call them CEUs, but you're trying to get a larger span of understanding within our industry. And I think that's for every industry, whether you're a contractor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, ideally people go into, or you're a restaurant chain. People go into a job, most people go into a career or a job with an understanding of, well, if I can't see past my tomorrow, I'm probably not going to be there at that time. And if we can provide a direction of saying, hey, this is the path that you're on and here are the benefits that you have.
Yeah, that's huge.
As far as career path. It's massive.
Yes.
But when you're talking about a small and medium-sized business, those are big milestones to fill the shoes of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true. And there's also, you know, ways to be creative in those pathways. Because if you create because you have a shared vision, right, as a small business or even a medium size, and maybe there's not a role in the next 6 months, so to say, for them to grow into, but maybe you could give them other opportunities that could grow their skill set, or mentoring. You know, maybe it's someone in your company, maybe it's someone that you know because you have a lot of connections and know people. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's a skill set that they wanted to learn, and you provide a training for that. You know, you can get creative, and I mean, at the end of the day, not everyone is going to want to grow at the speed that probably you and I want to grow.
Isn't that a hard thing to stomach sometimes?
It is. But you need people that are okay.
Or steady.
Yes. Yeah. And
steady people. That's what I call them.
Yeah, just steady. And, you know, they might have, and some people might have a lot of stuff going on in other aspects of their life. And so just showing up and doing a good job at what they're doing. They're not looking for, you know, major growth, but they may appreciate the minor growth. So, for example, I just went through with a group of competency mapping. So, understanding each role in an organization. This could even be done in small or medium because there were 2 small business owners, and understanding the competencies of each role. And then what kind of training is needed, and then cross training, you know, in case something happened in the organization or to someone, and that, or even practical things like lunch and learns, you know, those kind of things can really help with some of the stuff that we're talking about. So it's not so siloed, but it's more collaborative.
I love that, and I think that. When we're looking at providing those opportunities as business owners, I think that it's all about how we frame it. And I'm specifically talking to business owners because we can get in this, especially if we're in a position of scale, we can get in this thinking 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months in the future, and we see it and we're focused on it, and we know it's coming. And so our attitude can be affected by that. And I see it over and over because I'm B2B. So I work with businesses. It's not just me. Our attitude and the way we show up can be affected by that because we see the hustle that's about to happen. We know we need to hire. We know we need to train. We know the work that's coming in, etc. That sometimes those opportunities that we're providing our team, if we don't frame them as what they are and actually share that vulnerability piece of it of saying, I care about your growth, you have an opportunity here because the company's doing well, and I want to give you this experience. sometimes the way it can come out is, hey, I need you to take on this hat.
Yes. Yep.
And that's a different, same conversation.
Same conversation.
Different conversation though.
Yeah, different maybe in how they're perceiving the words.
Absolutely. I was reading a book about how different leaders, specifically in like presidencies, when they came in, they would process and think different ways as far as getting ready for a big press conference or getting ready for a speech. Some of them wanted bullet point talking points. Some of them needed 2 hours before they would go on to just comb over all the research that was given to them. Some of them needed the script written for them, otherwise they would freeze in front of the camera, right? And everyone's a little different. And so all I can speak on is me, in that for me, I edit, so I hope this helps somebody, but my process is this, even for this podcast sitting here, is I take a piece of content and I comb through it and I comb through research and then I very roughly bullet point a conversation. And that works for me because I've taken the preparation time to get it into my mind. Now, if you handed me exactly what I would have written in that preparation time, there's no way I could perform it. But that preparation time, sometimes people don't want to write it, they're not great writers, and they are really eloquent readers. And my point in saying this is when we know as leaders that we're in a vice, which is good. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing to be in a vice, the analogy of a cocoon and all the things, right? Sometimes pressure is good, right? It makes diamonds. But when we are conscious that that is the position that we're in, being knowledgeable about yourself enough to say, I need 30 minutes to figure this out, can change who resigns in 6 months.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's powerful.
It is. And going back to, what people need in that, and even going a step further back into the hiring practices of being authentic and vulnerable, that could be changing and understanding that and how the words that you use. Or I love that you said, I'm just going to take a minute to collect my thoughts. I know now that this project is coming or we're growing here, we just landed this deal, and instead of going into like hustle mode, and start shooting off all the tasks, it's taking that step back, slowing down just a bit to really strategize and understand the words that we're using in order to gain that buy-in and motivation. I mean, it's the same way with students. If I don't, they're coming to a class, and am I going to get buy-in for them to engage in the class? Well, it's how it's framed. So in some of my classes, I will have resume bullet points already made of what they're going to learn in this class and how they're going to be able to add it to their resume, to their LinkedIn, to their handshake profiles, which is basically LinkedIn for college campuses, and then how it's going to benefit their career goals. And we have a whole conversation around that of what they want to learn. And we can hit some of it in the class because it's only 16 weeks, 15 weeks. You can only do so much.
To a college student, that can feel like a lot, though.
Sure, it can. But then you're right, like being able to see the big picture, but then show up and be present. And that's what I have found. A lot of people just want leaders to be present, to hear them, and even if they're maybe not performing like you would want them to perform, maybe something's going on and they have no one to process it with. That is so true. They just need a safe place. I have had this happen so many times, and everyone knows my door is wide open. There's no judgment. You could come in. We usually go through lots of boxes of Kleenexes every semester.
It's so interesting because those experiences that we have, that's actually how we met, was we have a phenomenal internship program at our agency, and I had come and spoke on, I think it was digital marketing in your course, and just mentioned the internship program and just kind of naturally progressed from there. And I will tell you, it's so interesting because the students are in this mindset. They have the diploma on their radar at freshman level. Most of our interns are seniors, but and so you can see their minds start slowing down, and almost like it's like a whirlwind, slowing down and speeding up all at the same time in their senior year, or fresh grad is what we call them, first year out of college. And it's this conversation of, I have all these decisions to make, and they've been handed a syllabus for 4 years, right? Which, not to say they haven't learned how to make solid decisions, but a lot of our my conversations that I have, because I do one-on-ones with our interns very regularly, and they're very much about this. It's about these conversations of, I have this decision that I need to make. It's not about work at all. I mean, very minimal. Like, how's this project going? I had a question. Okay, great. Okay, how's everything going? You know, what's going on? And it's, you know, my roommate's moving out next week, or I've got to make a decision on if I'm moving home or if I'm staying here. You know, and it's just these massive conversations. Such a blessing to be a part of.
It really is.
But yeah.
I think part of the transformation too is being a safe place. And
transformational leadership.
And I mean, it's come up some. So I did, in my dissertation, it was the mindset of a transformational leader. And what I found is it's not as revelatory as one might think, but our thoughts about people impact our behaviors toward them. And I compared two assessments. One is called the Habit Finder, which I'm certified in. It'll show your habits of thinking in your inner world and outer world, and how they're supporting or sabotaging your behaviors.
So cool.
And it's so good, and everyone should take the Habit Finder. Like, hundreds of thousands of people
we'll
take it.
We'll put the link.
And then the other one was a Transformational Leadership Behavior Assessment, which it's a self-assessment, and I compared the two. And what the revelatory piece is that there's a lot of thoughts about ourselves that impact our thoughts about people.
Of others.
And, you know, one of those is even our self-worth. We do not love ourselves unconditionally, you know, give ourselves grace, then how do you expect to give that same grace, you know, for others, and love other people unconditionally instead of putting conditions on people? That is unfair, because in leadership, you know, sometimes leaders want all the grace for themselves, but want to just like hone in, and sometimes are a little bit too hard, you know, on people.
I 100% agree. Yeah, I do. I 100% agree. It is a balance. So I would say my the trending thing to say is toxic traits. So that's the only thing that's come into my mind. But my challenge in leadership is I genuinely like everybody. Like, genuinely, I think that they are just, I'm like, you can do anything. But what that turns into is this fine line, and I know that a lot of small business and medium-sized businesses struggle with this, of there needs to be grace. Okay, so great, you're really great at giving that constructive criticism, you're really great at, like, has everything okay at home, like, how's it, what's going on, this isn't your normal. Okay, you're really great at that, but where's the line of accountability?
Yeah, and boundaries.
Yes, that is another just massive piece that took me, I'm still not really great at it, but I'm just gonna admit that I'll probably just continuously work on that.
Oh yeah,
but
I've had to like literally practice boundary conversations with a counselor before.
Yeah.
Because we weren't taught that.
No.
Growing up, I wasn't. I mean, and it's not to blame anyone or anything, but it just wasn't talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't even on the radar of conversation. No, but it does make such a big difference. So that's good stuff. Okay, I did some research of my own.
Yes.
Nowhere near what kind of research you do. But here's the deal. I wanted to make sure we brought a lot of value today. And wanted to help somebody today. So I went to all the tools that we have at our agency, and I found the top 6 queries people are searching for about leadership online.
Oh.
There's probably
Let's hear it.
other ones here. And I thought, okay, well, let's see what comes to your mind here. Number 1, what are the key qualities of a good leader?
Oh.
How can I improve my leadership skills? What a great one. What is the difference between a leader and a manager? How can I inspire and motivate my team as a leader? Also a great one.
Yeah.
What are some effective leadership styles? Really cool. How can I develop strong communication skills as a leader? Any and all of those we're open to talk about, but when you hear those questions, where does your mind go? Do you want to say?
It always goes back to yourself first.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you are not healthy and whole, and what I mean by that is, we all have things from childhood. If you have not gone through the hard work, then you're going to constantly be getting triggered. You're not going to show up well for others if you have not experienced healing and wholeness yourself. And that's what I see over and over again, because I don't want manufactured behaviors. And that's even with my executive coaching clients. And that's why we start out with the Habit Finder profile, because we all have self-awareness to an extent. We all have blind spots, and that's why we need each other. Everyone needs, coaches. And if you're really going to operate at high levels of leadership, you definitely need a coach, or multiple ones. Definitely mentors and people in your community. But that's what it comes back to, of understanding yourself, really understanding your thought patterns. How are you showing up? Could we do a 360-degree review with people in your life, even family? I have one that's like family, friends, coworkers, people in your community that you volunteer with. So how are you showing up, and is that consistent? And I, whenever we are able to face the reality, which is totally vulnerable, but it makes us more authentic. Yeah. There's a whole theory on, and we say theory, but research is actually done on practical and actual people.
Data. Data.
It's
just not a room full of people talking.
Right, no, it is not. So authentic leadership and servant leadership and transformational leadership are really the ones that are more popular nowadays. But it really comes back to, can you lead yourself? Can you manage? Are you good at managing your life, before you're managing others? And the difference between a leader, and a manager, which is the age-old discussion. The leaders really cast that vision and are taking, people to that goal and communicating that effectively over and over again. So a leader that I worked with, and it was so funny, she was like, I have to state the vision and mission and where we're going so many times a day. And I'm like, yes, because we're human. You're going to get worn out on communicating that. Yeah. And then celebrating, right, the behaviors that you want to see. Because what you celebrate is going to be repeated. Right. And but in managing, we need managers as well that understand the vision, but they know how to set the SMART goals. They know how to set the goals. What are the objectives that are going to meet the goals? What are the metrics that are going to measure the objectives that meet the goals, that get us to the mission and ultimately the vision? And you need people who are gifted in that way too.
100%.
It all starts with you. Sure does.
And that's an ugly thing to look in the mirror sometimes, and I will say, for me, I'm never done working on it, but I stay in counseling. I just stay there.
If someone doesn't have a counselor nowadays, I'm like,
Yeah, you really.
Because it's so helpful. It really is.
Yeah, it definitely is. coaching is also a really useful person to have in your life, definitely. Yeah, all of that is so great. And I will say, for the small business and the medium-sized business owner who's trying to remember to say the vision because they're also wearing the management hat.
Sure.
That is a hard position to be in, and I empathize with you.
It is.
However, the best thing you can do is put strategy into your life and systems into your life. And so if I gave any advice just from my experience, is this: put it on the calendar, it's repeating, it's every week. You have a meeting with everyone, and it has your accolades in it, and it has your bragging points in it, and it has your vision casting in it. Okay, put it on your signature of your email.
Yeah, that's good.
Stick it.
Email.
Stick it everywhere. Hire, if you're not in marketing, of course, not everybody is, I am, but hire a graphic designer, create a shirt, create a button, wear it on your blazer every day. Wear a shirt, get a logo that says what your vision is, that looks really cool. If you're in construction, buy your whole team hats that say it.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't be present, because practicality, especially with things nowadays where people are working remote, it's hard to have that.
It is.
So
then you gotta live
get
it.
creative with the
Right.
way you're sharing your vision.
Yeah.
And yeah, the living it out is a value check mark that you have to have for yourself, because like, we know what our core values are at our company. Our whole team knows what our core values are at our company, interns and up. And we hire and fire off of it. And I think that's most businesses. I remember before I had that in place, I remember the mindset I was in of, yeah, wouldn't that be nice to be able to focus on something like that? But I'm telling you, when you make that shift, and this was years ago.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably 7 years ago, but when you make that shift and you start focusing on the ecosystem that you're building and not your feelings about your current situation, it changes everything.
Oh, it does. And I mean, I've been reading, this is a little side note, it kind of relates, but we have toddlers, we both have toddlers. Yes. And I've been reading this book called No Drama Discipline. Oh. It's Dan Siegel's work with interpersonal neurobiology. I highly recommend it. But it's really in the connection, even with our toddlers or with our employees or with our students, whatever that it is. It's not that we are perfect. It's that we're all in process. And even if someone, maybe didn't live out, I mean, none of us are perfect. And to expect that is just, you're just wasting time. And it's a miserable life, to live. But through the connection and being able to have brave conversations of, well, that behavior really didn't align with our values. Let's dive deeper into that. Because I also have found that sometimes, something else may be going on. And whereas we're in counseling and seek growth and want to process it and understand our tools, right, to keep us healthy, not everyone has experienced that yet either. And it will really set you free to learn how to process whatever that looks like for you. Like, even I tell students, I'm like, try not to process online, get a journal out, write it down, find a friend, because you're going to be going through this, and to bottle it all up, it will come out, it'll manifest in other ways, and you won't be happy about it, and you will show up in a way that you don't like.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've all done it. We are living proof that
I've absolutely done that. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Because it's not if, it's when, the pressure comes and more responsibilities or unexpected turn of events.
Right. In a previous podcast, we were visiting with a life strategies coach, and she was sharing that, kind of similar subject as far as the approach that you take to the decisions that you're making, right? So, like I said before, like figuring out, I need that 30 minutes, right? and understanding and evaluating those moments where it's like, oh, I really spout off on why did I do that?
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, one valuable piece that we added to our company was that we started doing personality tests within our company. And so we started approaching people as people. We do the Enneagram, we do Myers-Briggs. I've even had them do love language.
Oh, that's great.
So that I know when I'm showing up, if I can put my emotions aside for a minute, because you don't know what other people are going through in life, right? I have 3 kids at home. My team shouldn't have to deal with the fact that I'm arguing with my teenager or whatever it might be, right? That shouldn't come out on them. It's like the whole kicking the cat scenario, if you've ever heard that story, right? So, but understanding the people that are across the table from me and knowing them well enough to say, okay, I understand I'm an Enneagram 8, my emotions come out as anger, but the person sitting across from me is an Enneagram 2. And if I come out at anger, it's going to shut down.
Yeah.
And so it helps you.
Are you an 8?
I am an 8.
I'm an 8. Wing 7. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's probably why we get along.
I think, 3/4 of everyone I've interviewed were Enneagram 8s, and I didn't do that on purpose.
That's so funny. Well, I mean, there's something about it, but yeah. What's your Myers-Briggs?
Oh, I'll have to look it up.
Oh.
It's on my phone.
Probably like ENFJ or...
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And then it's, there's the letter at the end now.
Oh, okay,
Yes. Yeah, I'll show you here in a minute.
Okay.
Anyway.
We digress.
Yeah, we digress. It's the conversation that changes when you understand that the person, it puts you more into a cognitive state of mind.
Yep.
Less about what you're feeling, more about, okay, I'm trying to communicate a message here, and I understand who I'm talking to.
Yep. Yeah. And we call that even, I mean, it really is the definition of agape love, because agape is a heightened level of awareness of what the other person needs. And even getting, of course, the golden rule, it was great, it's great, but the platinum rule, which of treating others how they want to be treated.
I've actually never heard that.
Yeah, so the
That's
golden
good.
rule of treating others like we want to be treated, but not everyone, wants to be true. I mean, or what doesn't bother me bothers someone else, and
Definitely.
That's really good.
That's good stuff. Dr. Weinkauf, it is always a pleasure.
Oh, same.
Thank you for coming
Thank
and
you.
visiting with us. I'll put all the links that we mentioned in the comments below, and we will see you next time.